A song you have not heard in years begins playing the moment you think of someone. A stranger speaks the exact phrase that has been repeating in your mind all day. You open a book at random and find the answer to a question you never spoke aloud. Most people call these moments coincidence, and perhaps they are, but there is something unsettling about coincidence when it arrives too perfectly, too precisely, as though reality knew where your attention would be before you did. Welcome to Mysterious Encounters. Tonight, we open another entry from the Veil Archives. Not an investigation into spirits, not an examination of prophecy, but something stranger. A phenomenon so common that most people dismiss it, yet so persistent that almost everyone remembers at least one. The moment life stops feeling random, the moment events begin to align, the moment coincidence starts behaving like communication. Tonight, we examine synchronicities. It usually begins with something small, a word, a symbol, a name. Something enters your awareness, and then it appears again, hours later, then again, and again, and again. At first, you ignore it. The human brain notices patterns. That is what it does. But synchronicities feel different. Because they seem to gather momentum, the pattern begins responding. You think of an old friend they call unexpectedly. You wonder about a forgotten place, a photograph appears, you search for meaning. And reality appears to answer, not clearly, not directly, but enough to make you pause, enough to make you wonder whether the pattern noticed you first. Ancient cultures often imagined the universe as a woven structure, a tapestry, a web, a living network of connections. Nothing existed alone. Everything touched everything else. Modern life teaches a different story. Separate objects, separate minds, separate events. Yet synchronicities challenge that assumption. It's because they create the sensation that unrelated events are somehow linked beneath the surface. Not by cause, not by logic, but by meaning. The strange thing is that synchronicities rarely feel important because of what happens. They feel important because of how they happen, the timing, the precision, the impossible sense that two distant pieces of reality briefly revealed they belong to the same design. Most people assume they are observing reality, watching events unfold, moving through time. But synchronicities create a different sensation, a disturbing one, the feeling that reality is observing you, not consciously, not intentionally, but responsively, as though the world occasionally mirrors internal states. You ask a question. The answer appears. You fear something. A symbol emerges. You search for direction. A path reveals itself. Perhaps it is chance. Perhaps it is psychology. Yet the feeling remains for one brief moment. The boundary between inner and outer reality becomes uncertain, and the world seems less like a stage and more like a conversation. Imagine walking through a city at night. Thousands of lights, thousands of people, millions of unrelated events from a distance. It appears chaotic, but above the noise, there may exist structures too large to see from the ground, patterns hidden by proximity. Synchronicities create the same possibility. Not that events are controlled, not that fate is scripted, but that meaning may organize itself. In ways we do not understand, perhaps coincidence is not evidence of destiny. Perhaps it is evidence that reality contains layers we rarely perceive, and every so often, a crack appears, a glimpse through the surface, a reminder that randomness may not be the entire story. Eventually, everyone who experiences enough synchronicities arrives at the same question. Not whether they are real, but what they are. Messages, reflections, accidents, or something else entirely? Because synchronicities rarely provide answers. Instead, they provide alignment, a momentary arrangement of events that should not fit together, and yet somehow do, and after the moment passes, Life returns to normal, the pattern dissolves, the signs disappear, the world becomes ordinary again. But something has changed you, because once you have seen the threads, you begin noticing them everywhere, and the question remains, not whether reality contains meaning, but whether meaning itself is woven into reality. Perhaps synchronicities are nothing more than a mind searching for order, or perhaps they are brief openings through which a deeper structure becomes visible, tiny fractures in the illusion of randomness, moments when reality reveals that it may be connected in ways we have forgotten, and then the pattern vanishes, leaving behind only a feeling, a suspicion, a quiet certainty that coincidence is not always coincidence, and that somewhere beneath the noise, something is still arranging itself. Some ideas appear everywhere, across continents, across centuries, across civilizations that never met, the same symbols, the same stories, the same dreams, as though humanity is remembering something it never learned. And in the next entry of the Veil Archives, we descend into a realm beneath individual thought, a place where myths are born, where symbols emerge before language, and where every mind may be connected to something older than memory itself, not coincidence, not destiny, but a hidden ocean of shared meaning. The next Veil Archives entry, the dreaming mind, the collective unconscious. Some thoughts do not belong to one person.